how are you feeling about multiplying and dividing rationals? Well, some of these I would hope that you feel not a 1, a 2, a 3, or even a 4 out of 10, but like a 50 out of 10. But if you're not feeling quite that confident, if you are down here or here, I'm hoping to help you guys out. So let's go to the very, very bottom floor of just finding the product of two integers. Now, if you're like, wait a second, doesn't this say rationals? What are we talking about? Integers? What's the difference? I'm glad you asked. So an integer is basically all of the whole numbers, but it includes negatives. So if I were to start a list, an integer starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, and goes on forever. But I can now go in this direction, -1, -2, -3, and I can go on forever in that direction, okay? Those are the integers. But what's a rational? So a rational is basically going to be in the form A over B. And it can be positive or negative. So I don't have a list that I can really write out because it's too big, right? 0 is rational because it could be, that could be like 0 over 6. But then also, let me make some space. Then 1 is rational because that could be 6 over 6. And you know what? Let's just keep running with the 6's. Why not? Because there could be a number right here. That could be 6 over 10. Or this number right here could be, 66 over, 101. I don't know. But that's kind of the idea. In fact, I don't know if that would really go there. But the idea is that they are basically can be represented as fractions. But notice I said it could be positive or negative. So they go this way too. It could be -2/3. It could be -3. It could be -7/2, stuff like that, okay? The only thing that it's not going to be is that you can't have a 0 right there. Can't have 0. You can't have 0 down here, okay? Because that would make it undefined. You cannot divide by 0. And if you're like, wait, why can't I? Because it would be like saying, hey, I have 3 cookies, and I'm going to divide them among ... people who don't exist. People who don't exist. In fact, I don't exist. So how can I divide 3 cookies by not existing? That's kind of a wild question, right? That's what dividing by 0 does. Okay. Wow, 3 minutes, and we've just talked about integers and rationals, but I needed to be said, okay, that these are technically rational numbers because the integers fit inside of the rational numbers. Moving on. -8 times 6. Multiplication is repeated addition. So it's like I have -8 minus 8 minus 8 minus 8 minus 8 minus 8. If I've lost $8, I lose another $8. I've lost 16. If I lose another 8, I've lost 24. If I lose another 8, I've lost 32. Another 4, I've lost 40. Another 8, I've lost 48. You could do this. That would be painful, okay? So instead, we do it in terms of there's -8, and I want 6 groups of that, okay? And how do you do a negative? Well, don't think of it in terms of like, okay, so I've lost money. You can if you want. But basically, if you lose 8 6 times, you've lost 48. Really, I shouldn't even try and explain all that to you. I'm really hoping you have a good handle on that by now. But if you don't, here's, with this one, I'll go ahead and make some, other recommendations that we talked about. You are about to give 10 groups of, by the way, is multiplying, 10 groups of -7. And one of the things we've said is this is like an insult. You're going to bring something negative, that's an insult, right? So if you bring 10 groups of 7 insults, that is -70 in general. You're bringing a bunch of insults, right? This over here is money. This right here is insults. This one is the one that I really would prefer you to just think of. Either a negative times a negative is positive, or you could think of it as same sign is positive. And then the one thing I want to warn you about is do not think that this is like this. Okay? This is 2 negatives make a positive in multiplication. This is 2 negatives make a positive in subtraction. Because look, it's like we're removing -6, and that's like adding 6. So both of those would be positive. I've seen students do this, -3 minus 6, and then they say, oh, that's a negative and negative. Nope, that is not what that is doing. This is you've lost 3, and you're about to lose 6. You've lost 9, okay? So anyway, what's the answer on this one? It's 18.